Hello and welcome everyone. Today's episode is a little bit different because it's been almost 6 months that I've started podcasting or have my own channel. Let's say that. And I believe a lot of people out there now are moving towards podcasting, having their own YouTube channels and whatnot, mostly because of side income, or it is a new it thing, I should say. How my process has been, or my experience has been throughout this 6 months since February 2024, it's something that I thought that maybe I will share with everybody. Because a lot of people who are starting podcasting now, or who are in a conflict with themselves, that whether they should start podcasting or how it would be like, they're contemplating on whether to start or not, often ask me certain questions on how was my journey and how my channel is progressing. So I thought might as well just make a video out of it so that people can actually maybe learn on how they can get into podcasting, or some of the things which are basic things on motivating them more or less on the steps that they should consider before they start podcasting. Let's start with how I started, when I started, the reasons for me to start podcasting. I've been working in media field for almost 2 years plus. I worked in news channels. I've also helped around in some radio stations and whatnot. And that is one of the reasons why I had some sort of experience in public speaking, speaking on camera, creating contents for social media, let's just say that. I've been a motivational speaker myself as well. I've been a trainer. I have held positions in company which require leadership skills and communication as well. So I have a good, you can say, like a source of connections which I can utilize on my platform. And that was one of the benefits and one of the reasons why I thought that, like maybe if I have my own YouTube channel, it would rather be easy for me to get guests on my channel and have contents regularly. But that doesn't mean that, if you have connections, doesn't mean that all of your connections will actually be eager to come on your podcast as well. And at the same time, do consider that not all of your connections are related to the topics that you want to share on your channel as well. But this was still one of the reasons why I feel like it was a good decision for me to open my own channel as well. Other than that, I was always interested in creating my own contents as well, but I still had a little bit of hesitation. But one thing that actually inspired me was when I started to buy equipment for my day-to-day job, let's just say that, when I was working for the news channel and when I was working with the radio station and newspaper as well. So coming back to my goals, what were my goals, what I wanted to achieve from my YouTube channel? First of all, as I mentioned, because I already was working in this field, I thought maybe it would be a good idea to reuse some of those contents as well. If not the exact same contents, I could use some of the topics that I was covering already for them and then create my own contents as well. So it was an added benefit, you can say that. Second thing, the world is changing. We need something additional. And I thought that because I already have the equipment, I already have the contents that I want to create, so why not open a channel? That was my process. Let's now look at what are the things which overwhelm new podcasters. Whenever you are starting a new podcast, what are some of the things which maybe make you hesitate jumping into a podcast, or certain things which you think too much, that like, okay, these, I won't say too much, but I would say like maybe these are the points that you are trying to consider before jumping into podcasting. So first of all, let's look at the basic things that when you are considering podcasting. Should you have a solo podcast or have a co-host? I personally think everybody, regardless of who you are, whenever you are deciding, this is something that is very basic, and that this specific thing defines how you're going to actually progress. A lot of people, when they are trying to consider co-host, they are trying to create co-hosts because they already have some sort of an idea. They are already discussing with somebody that they want to have a podcast. And for that reason, you start a podcast and you have somebody to work with, which is a good thing, because now you have somebody who is going to be supporting you in terms of ideas, helping out in marketing, and you can complement each other. And your podcast isn't as boring as a solo podcast. it is not very easy to have a solo podcast and be more attractive for listeners who will listen to your podcast for maybe 40 minutes or 30 minutes. But it could be interesting when there is a little bit of banter going on between two people. So that's why co-hosting works really well. Second thing, what kind of publishing platform to use? I'm using Riverside. There are a lot of variety of platforms out there. You can even use Zoom or Skype or any other platform, because your publishing platform is mainly just to record. The only thing that affects your podcasting is maybe the added features that the platform is providing. So if you're just starting off, you are on a budget, even a lot of good high-end platforms like Riverside have a free version as well. Of course, there are a lot of limitations with that, but it's still a really good platform. Second thing, where do you go? Where are you going to publish it? So you have YouTube, you have Twitch, you have LinkedIn, you have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. There are plenty of places where you can publish your podcast, and these are video podcasts. But for audio podcasts, you have Podbean, Spotify. There are plenty, Apple, Spotify. So there are plenty of places where you can publish your podcast as well. How do you choose which platform is best for you? It strictly depends on you. A lot of platforms you need to pay, some platforms you don't need to pay. For example, like YouTube, Twitch, all of them, they are free platforms, and you can earn money from it. The reason why I said you can earn money from it, because all of these platforms have their own threshold after which they start to pay. And there are a lot of ways you can earn money from your podcast, not just from monetization within the platform. Next thing, should you have a moderator or not? That's another thing which I was contemplating. I thought that I should have a moderator, but then the frequency of me publishing, podcasting, and me learning myself how to moderate my own podcast made me think that maybe I should not get a moderator right now, but maybe in the future, if I grow this into something which is much more like a studio, then maybe I would get a moderator. Okay, so then the next thing that I was considering was whether I should hire an editor. I did hire an editor for 1 month. It didn't work out. The moderator didn't assist me at all in anything. So, but it was a good experience, I would say. And there are a lot of editors you can find on many platforms. You just need to publish that you're looking for an editor, and you will get loads of DMs on Facebook. But not all of them work. A lot of them have, it's a hit and miss. You can find some good editors as well, but more or less, I found a lot of average editors. Good editors will cost you a bomb. So it depends what's your budget. If you are just starting off, I'd rather you just do plain editing yourself. I'm doing my editing myself. A lot of platforms like Riverside, Discord, and all of them, they have really easy to use editors, and for basic editing, they are perfectly fine. You can use CapCut to edit your videos, which is a really good software as well. It's free to use. Of course, the premium version has much more effects and all that, but you can get by with free version. I'm using free version for CapCut for my post editing, and it works completely fine. Another thing that I was considering is, how should I publish my contents? The duration, once a week, twice a week, or once a month, or how should I publish them in terms of scheduling? So when I was considering scheduling for the first couple of months, I was thinking that maybe I should experiment. So I was experimenting a lot. Sometimes I was publishing 2-3 times a week. Sometimes I was publishing once and then I found the right balance for me is maybe 1 video per 1 week, or 1 video in 2 weeks, depending on how much promotion I'm giving to each episode, and at the same time how much time I'm giving to the contents that I'm preparing. Bear in mind that this is not my full-time job. This is my side hobby, you can consider. So I'm not too bothered about how frequently I'm publishing my videos. It's more about what is a good topic for me. So next, I was also considering whether it should be audio or video or both. What kind of a channel I want. Should I have just a video podcast, or should I have both audio and video? So just an audio podcast. If I was going for just an audio podcast, I would have option for a Podbean or Spotify platforms like this. But because I was considering video podcast, because when I went into podcasting, having my own channel, most of my contents were video contents. So I decided it's a good way for me to start off. But you can have your own choice. If it is easier for you to have just an audio podcast, you can go for that, just to dip in your toes. Maybe in future you want to consider going into video podcasting. It's completely fine. You just have to start from somewhere. Then the next thing that I wanted to understand is monetization. It is very important that you understand your goals first. If your goal is for monetization, then you have to promote excessively your contents. You need to have such content which is going to get attraction from from the viewers or listeners. Bear in mind the first monetization, for example, like for me, because I'm using YouTube, there are a few levels for it. First thing is you need to hit 1,000 subscribers, and then on top of that, you also need to have a minimum 5,000 viewership hours, or I think 10 million views on your shorts, either one of them. So I've already achieved my 1,000 subscribers. That was not a big issue. The main thing is having your 5,000 viewership hours, which is actually a big hurdle. Why? Because when you have videos which are 40 minutes long, 30 minutes long, or even 20 minutes long, not a lot of people watch such videos unless they are political and you have a big following for that, or it is more towards issues which are much more, you can say, sensitive, or maybe you have topics which I would say are X-rated, or something which is more towards which attract people to just watch for example, like only fan kind of topics. But my topics are not like doesn't hold that attraction. It is a big issue when you're considering having 5,000 viewership hours. Getting 10,000 shorts is a very good idea if you're starting off. Having loads of shorts going on, it is much more easier to get viewership on shorts, because people have short-term attention a lot of times, and a lot of times people are actually watching your videos on their phone, so it's easy to just have a listen in 1 minute of what you are saying and be done with it. So did I spend money on promotion in terms of ad campaigns and whatnot? Yes, I did. I had a plan. Once I hit almost 500 600 subscribers, then I would start doing my ad campaigns, which I did. How much do I spend? I think it all depends on how much budget you have. For me, decided that I'm not going to spend too much money on each episode. My goals are very limited in terms of ad campaigns at the moment, because I am still learning. And when the process of learning is going on, I feel like it is not ideal if I spend money on contents which I'm experimenting on. So that's why I'm spending less money, but it is fruitful. It works. The only thing is that something that I haven't understand is that the number of subscribers doesn't justify viewership hours. And that is something which will only equate to the quality of contents that you are providing. So that is why it is very important that you work on the contents that you are going to be publishing. Now, the steps that I took for my podcast to be successful. First of all, as I mentioned before, I experimented a lot with my contents and I didn't focus on monetization straight away. Second thing, I hired an editor for 1 month. It didn't work out. I didn't use any of the contents that my editor did. All of the content that you are looking on my channel, every single thing is done by me. I experimented with publishing softwares a lot. I was using Skype before, and I later on changed to Riverside, which I feel was a really good decision. It helped me a lot. The community for Riverside is really good. I'm not saying that I'm promoting Riverside. You should do your own research. You should experiment. There are a lot of softwares out there like Discord and plenty other. You should try and use the software which you are comfortable with, and most of them have a free version as well. You can try and see what suits your goals. For me, the reason why I chose Riverside, one of the reasons was that a lot of regions where a lot of platforms are banned, Riverside works. So that worked for me because at that time I was working in media and I needed to connect with people who are in those regions. Second thing, I joined as many Facebook groups as I could for initial promotion. It doesn't work always, but you still, like, maybe in 100 with 100 different people who are watching, you can find one or two people who you can connect with whom you can actually learn or collaborate with. I believe like it's not really a good way to gain followers or subscribers, but it is a good way to connect with other podcasters who you can collaborate with to produce more contents. When it comes to the same topic on joining Facebook groups, I joined a lot of other communities as well. I joined communities on social platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn as well, even on Telegram, and then you have groups on LinkedIn as well. I find LinkedIn groups are more professional. So if your topics are more professional, it is much more easier for you to find people who are working in professional fields or who have experience in professional fields specific to your needs. So finding guests on LinkedIn is a really good idea, and that is something that helped me a lot. When it comes to the last topic that I feel that I was really experimenting on is my background and the layout. So there are two things which you can consider. You need to consider. The first thing is in-app background layout, like where your maybe like how the camera should be looking at you, where your subtitles should be, or the framing and things like that. And the second thing is your physical layout, like for example the background, how the mic is placed, is it closer or further, things like this. So these are the things that I consider. And the one more thing that I forgot to mention is the equipment. I think equipment is something which is very subjective in a way that how much do you want to grow and what is your purpose. If you're just starting off, a lot of podcasters that I know, they're just using their phones, maybe a fancy light, doesn't need to be so expensive. You can find really reasonable lights for less than 20-30 bucks. But if you want to go higher, you can get really good lights for 100 bucks as well, which would make your layout or your camera look really sharp. Second thing is the mic. Mic is one of the most important things that you can actually buy. I feel like mic and light are two really important things for a video podcast. For an audio podcast, your mic is your most important purchase. For me, I'm using Shure MV7. This was one of the best options for podcasters at that time when I bought. And the reason for that, the reason for me purchasing this over any other microphone was because it has a capability of recording through USB or XLR. The reason why it was important for me is because at the moment I'm using USB, and I plan that in future, maybe if my podcast is going to grow and I will have my own studio and things like that, then it would be much more easier for me to use an XLR cable and have multiple mics on the same show, rather than purchasing new microphones when I'm upgrading. So it was something which is future proof for me. The camera that I'm using right now, I'm using Sony. The reason why I bought this is because it has capability of recording without the breaks, because most DSLRs have I think 20 to 30 minute threshold, after which they pause and then you have to click again. But this doesn't, as long as the battery is cool or it has enough juice, or your memory card has enough space to store. But because I'm using this as a webcam, so I don't need to worry about the storage. The only thing I need to worry about the camera is not overheating. So this gives me around 50 minutes or 60 minutes. Afterward, it feels that it is going to overheat and it gives glitches. But 60 minutes is a lot, so it's enough for me. I think that's most of the equipment that I'm using. I'm using this whole setup with a MacBook Pro. 2022, I believe, 2021, 2022, M2, which is more than I need. You can get by with a basic MacBook Air even, or even general laptops. It depends on which platform you're using. A lot of platforms have their own basic requirements. You can go and check the program that you're going to be using for your recording and choose the device accordingly. A lot of people are using their phones as well, so then you don't even need a hi-fi laptop or things like that. This was my basic setup, and of course, like, there are a lot of things that I would have probably missed, but this was my 6 months of podcasting. If there is anything I have missed, or something that you have learned, or something that you feel has helped you, and you want to know more about my experience in podcasting, or something that you feel like maybe you want to share, please leave the comments below on that, and please like and subscribe, and have a nice day.